Welcome everyone. We're going to give a couple seconds to let everyone into the webinar today. We are glad you're able to join us today for our next edition of the 49er Industry Chats. My name is Noemi Guevara and I'm the Director of Alumni Engagement here at Cal State Long Beach. Before we start our session today, I want to let you know this session is being recorded for to be hosted on our website at a later time. Just want to let you know also, if you have any questions for our guest speaker today, we encourage you to use our Q&A box located below and submit any of your questions. And now I would like to introduce our moderator, Lucia Cos, who graduated in 1975 with a degree from liberal arts in Spanish, was recognized as a distinguished alumna in 2005, and now serves on our CSUB Alumni Council and will be your host today. Thank you so much, Lucia, and the floor is yours.
Okay.
It seems like we just lost Lucia.
Hello?
Hello, we could hear you. There you go.
Yeah, I keep getting kicked off my computer. I'm back.
Okay, wonderful.
All right. Luke Peters is a proud alum and holds a bachelor's degree in microbiology from Long Beach State. Peters is the CEO and founder of Newair, which he started with his wife out of his garage 19 years ago. Their products are featured in the top retailers, and their goal is to become the most trusted brand in compact appliances. Peter also hosts the Page One podcast, focused on how product brands are winning online and how in-store profiling can lead CEOs in the consumer goods space in home, hardware, and houseware categories. Peters is on the board of directors of the International Housewares Association. He is married with 6 children, loves to surf and mountain bike in his free time. Join us today to lead our 49er industry chat. Please welcome Luke Peters.
Thanks for having me, Lucia. Looking forward to talking about entrepreneurship and reliving some old Long Beach memories.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, because my darn computer keeps kicking me off, but I can hear you. Go ahead and start, Luke.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to share a slide deck for everybody who's logged in here. Okay, great. Lucia, are you able to see that? Yep. Okay, everybody. So today,
We lost her, but we could continue. We'd love to hear and for you to start talking about, your topic.
Okay. Well, listen, thanks for everybody who's joined us today. And it sounds like we got alum and students. I kind of wrote this up for just for like a student perspective, but I think it'll be valuable information for everybody listening, and some tidbits on why we should think about entrepreneurship and how it's often not an option that's kind of talked about in school. So I'll go through that and kind of to start. So this is the presentation today. I'm going to kind of talk about something that people really never maybe even contemplate, that being an entrepreneur can actually be less risky. Running your own business can be less risky. And I'll show you how. You can also make a bigger social impact. It can be more fun. And we're going to even go into some ideas for your business. So the key topics is first to get, I can just kind of express some ideas in a different way of thinking, why we should be less careful, why I see at least the current generation is really careful about things. And I think it's important to think outside the box, and I'm using the word careful, but to maybe experiment more and have a more creative mindset. Why it's less risky, I'll go into a little more details about that for your career. why owning a business gives you more freedom and control, how you can make a bigger social impact. I know that's a huge topic, obviously, even today, the day after the election. And people, the one great thing, especially about this new generation, is they want to make a big social impact. When you own a business, you have even a larger potential to do that. Talk about traits and skills that you might need, your future after 50, and how you find your business idea. I'm going to go through the deck pretty quick because I want to leave some time to chat with Lucia. And kind of before this presentation, we mentioned, Lucia, cut me off anytime if there's any questions from the audience, okay?
All right.
Just to, quickly go through a little bit about me. There's kind of the bullet lines there. You guys already gave the introduction. I went to Long Beach, actually, after I went to Orange Coast College. So I graduated Fountain Valley High School, was not a very good student. Went to Orange Coast College, which is an amazing junior college. And I think I might've been there for like 4 years or more. I joke around that I have a PhD from Orange Coast College because I wasn't very focused and I was out surfing a lot and just taking way too many classes. And I didn't have a lot of guidance that said, hey, just take these classes and transfer. Instead, I took so many science and classes because I was thinking of being pre-med. Then I got into Long Beach and I studied microbiology and had some wonderful professors along the way. Sorry, I don't recall all their names, but they ended up being great mentors and really pushed me hard, especially in certain microbiology classes and organic chemistry. Had some great professors and, taught me to be creative. And because there's many ways you can solve a problem, it's not always just one way. It's kind of like math. There's a lot of different ways you can do it. And had a lot of good friends that I met on campus as well. And was really fortunate to go to Long Beach. It's such a beautiful campus. It's near the beach, obviously, that you guys know. And I really enjoyed that part of it. Live in Huntington, so I'm pretty close. While I was at Long Beach, I actually, I had a job. I owned a business. I had owned a pool business, actually. So I was cleaning pools. I do that a couple days a week. That kind of paid the bills. And so I was able to graduate without any debt. And actually sold that business right after I graduated. I did a interview on campus and got my first job right out of school as a hazardous waste scientist. So there was some sort of job, what do they call it? Like, where the different agencies and companies would come in, and a job fair. So anyways, I really enjoyed my time there. My business is Newair. You can find it at newair.com. Basically, I'll just show you a couple quick slides. We create and sell really fun appliances: beer frosters, wine coolers, ice makers, outdoor cooling products, heating and cooling products and fans, portable air conditioners. So all kinds of fun products like that. We call it fridge, frost, and freeze. We sell to these customers. So it gives you guys an idea, mostly online. And that's the business that I tend to know well. But we also selling in store to a couple of them. It's a fun business. We're in Cyprus. Cyprus is an amazing city, actually. It's funny growing up. I never even knew Cyprus existed. But it's really a little jewel over there, and it's just a great business climate and beautiful city to be in. So we're fortunate. We have about 120,000 square feet, and overall about 50 or so team members on the team, actually in different countries too. So we have some people in a team in the Belize, team in Mexico, and then most of the team here.
Now, Luke, do you think that owning your own business while you were in college really helped you kind of get into the spirit of entrepreneurship? And is this something you might want to mention to some of our current students and how things they could look for in terms of skill sets?
Yeah, Lucy, it's a good question. It definitely did. And listen, I was raised in a big family, a really big family, and we didn't have any money. Like we were like a lower, we grew up in Fountain Valley in a nice city, but like, let's put it this way. If I wanted something, I had to buy it myself. And so I had paper routes. My parents owned donut shops. That's how they made a living. And I had to go work in graveyard. So if I wanted a car, I had to go buy it. If I wanted anything, I had to go buy it. And in fact, my mom would sew me clothes and I wouldn't really want to wear the clothes she sewed me. So I'd go buy them. So yeah, absolutely owning. But right now it's so easy to do something online. Okay, you can have your own YouTube channel. There's so many different things people can do, create your own podcast. I think Lucia, to that point quickly, the most important thing is to get experience. So when students are going through school, work. It's really important. Don't work just to make money, work to get experience. So work for somebody or some company that you think is going to have a good mentor and give you an opportunity to learn a new skill. So even if it's not your own business, you can still gain so many skills doing that.
So do you think technology today really helps people jump into entrepreneurship?
100%. There's never been a time when you need less capital to start a business than today. So you can bootstrap companies today like you never could in the past. Obviously, there's always challenges to every generation, but there's never been an opportunity like there is today. There really hasn't. You have so many places you could sell on if you're selling a physical product, so many people you can reach if you're selling a service or a course or some sort of software product. It's 100% the golden age of starting a business.
And Luke, has COVID kind of helped that whole thought process, kind of jump in place for people today?
It has. I mean, COVID's impacted everybody differently. I think sometimes the challenge has been COVID has really made people fearful. So that could be a negative as far as going out and starting things, causing a lot of anxiety. But if COVID is basically just, it's basically just sped up where the economy was transitioning to already. So opportunities have been open, some have been closed, some have been opened. It's always going to be like that. So I don't know that I would call it a big net positive. Obviously, COVID is not good. People are getting sick, but it's something we have, everybody's got to work around, and hopefully, we can find a way through it.
Great. I'll go ahead and let you continue. There's other questions coming in.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds great. So just a couple of things. So here's the thing for everybody listening, and I understand there are more alum. It's never too late. I'm going to say some things that hopefully you've heard, but maybe people have never heard. Okay. And I want to change how you think about how everybody thinks about things. Something that's not in the slide, Lucia, that's really interesting is like this country in this tax code benefits entrepreneurs purposely. It's there to foster job creators and business owners. Now, obviously people will take advantage of it and so on and so forth, but the rules, I'm not here to, debate that or say if it's good or bad. I'm just saying there's rules to the game. It's like if you play basketball, there's certain rules, and then you follow those rules and you utilize them to your advantage. And when you own a business, as it stands now, there's many, many benefits to owning a business that are in the tax code. So the reason I bring that up is not a political statement. It's to say, hey, this is literally what the government is giving advantage to. And it's important for people to think about that because a lot of times people maybe have never heard a comment like that or a way of thinking like that. And a couple of quotes here, the first one by Tony Gaskins is like, if you don't build your dream, someone else is going to hire you to build theirs. It's really great to think about that, especially for younger people who really aren't sure about what they're going to do. And hold on, let me move this. Sorry, I'll move the, okay. And then the other quote is, you need 0 business degrees to be a business owner, but you need a degree to work for a business owner. It's really interesting to think about that. You don't have to be highly educated. I started off by saying I was not a good student. I was like barely a C student. My kids give me a hard time when they read my high school yearbook that my friends were congratulating me on barely graduating high school. And I ended up doing good at college, because I really love science. So I ended up getting really good grades. But the point is that entrepreneurship is open for everybody, every age, every interest. Anybody can do it now more than ever. Okay, so entrepreneur is a completely overused word. It's getting to the point it's becoming a cliche. So let's just say it's somebody who creates something from nothing. They do take measured risk. I think if anybody's interested in it, we need to stop being careful. I think a careful mindset can be dangerous. An entrepreneur is someone who starts a business, and they're usually positive. And it's tough in today's day and age. There is, it just depends on what circles you're in. There's a lot of negativity, but hey, we all have a choice on who we want to be with and hang out with, and what we want to do with our futures. And I think being positive and seeing opportunity, in every half full glass is a very, very important characteristic of entrepreneurs. Zig Ziglar, famous positive speaker of the past. Definitely people should look him up if they haven't heard of Zig Ziglar. He's pretty funny. And he says, look, positive thinking is going to let you do everything better than negative thinking will. So that's a great way to think about it, because there's always going to be challenges. But hey, you're always going to do better if you take the positive approach rather than the negative approach.
So, Luke, what would be your advice to current students and young alum in terms of looking at where they're at in terms of classes, skill sets, competencies, and also in their first jobs while they're in school, or while, the first job's out? What are some of the things they should key in on, or be looking at as they work for someone else?
Sure. Okay. So Lucia, the first thing is, this is open to all age groups. My parents are both 80 years old, working every day, and they own their own business. So this is universal. But when you're young and getting started, the most important thing is to continue to learn. So everybody should just look at college as just another step. The learning never ends. So too often people get a degree and they think they're owed. Instead, that degree opens a door for you, but you still got to prove yourself. And the successful people I've seen are the ones that are open to direct communication. So it means they've got, for lack of a better word, they got thick skin. Not in a bad way, but like they're not defensive. Hey, they're open. Like they can see that they want to improve, and they want to hear that feedback. The next thing to your comment is, if somebody has a choice, work as closely as you can to somebody who you think can be a good mentor. So let's say you're taking a job, you have a couple choices. During that interview, ask who you're going to report to. Look up that person on LinkedIn. And if you have choices, even reach out to that person and say, how many meetings am I going to get a week with you? Or I'm really interested in learning and growing these skill sets. Is that something that you're open to mentoring me on? Trust me, people in leadership positions are going to want to do that. And there's a lot of things, Lucia, but like if somebody gets involved in a certain activity, let's just make it up, because I mountain bike. So that I can get involved in mountain biking and read everything I want about cool bikes or trails to ride, or, YouTube it. The thing is, like, instead, invest your time in improving yourself. So if people should try to pull time away from these other activities that aren't going to create value, invest time in self-improvement, and then also find that great mentor.
Great, thanks.
Okay, this is another series. Robert Kiyosaki, hopefully a lot of you guys have heard him. He writes a series called the Rich Dad, Poor Dad series. He's a really interesting person. Now, the reason I bring him up is this goes for everybody. It's even alum if you have teenage kids. He writes a book series for the teenage kids even to learn about cash flow, learn about what an asset is, what a liability is in a fun way, so that people can. The ultimate goal is staying away from debt and building your assets in your life. And in part of the Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he goes through it all about how it's a mindset and how he grew up with one mindset, his dad, and then he jokes around about his rich dad, which I think was like his friend's dad, who had a totally different mindset. Robert grew up in Hawaii, and then he learned, these people are wealthy not because of what they were born with, but because of their mindset, and they grew their wealth over time. It's really great. I would recommend it to everybody, but quickly he creates a cash flow quadrant. So this is important for today's discussion. And you have everybody should, if everybody understood this, especially as a younger student, you can say, okay, you can choose to be in any of these. You know, do you want to be, you can be an employee, which is great. I mean, there's reasons why one would want to do that, because you don't want to deal with a lot of stress and pressure of owning the business. So all of these are equally fine, but why I'm passionate about talking about it is these are not all talked and discussed about. So when students are going to school, when they're talking in their peer groups or on social media, it's not clear that, hey, you know, there's this other quadrant, and now then there's the self-employed quadrant, and there's the investor quadrant, and they are all different skill sets and mindsets. And the important thing is not that somebody should be one of these, but that they all should be open for discussion, and that there's an opportunity for everybody to decide where they, you know, what interests them and what they want to work towards. All right, so a couple of reasons why you should think about being an entrepreneur. And just backing up to this slide, remember, investors are entrepreneurs, you know, doctors and lawyers, same thing. You're often how you're filing your taxes, and depending on how you're getting paid, you may have to, you know, form an LLC or an S Corp or whatever. All of these different professions, even things like architects and certain engineers and stuff, eventually you could be going down this route. So this is not just for going and selling a physical product. This is for many, many different disciplines. So reasons why you should consider it. You get paid for the value you create. So think about it. You know, entrepreneurs take a lot of risk, and obviously they'll hire on teams. When you own that entity, you took a lot of risk to get there and had to work 3 or 5, 10 times harder to get there. But now you own what's being created in that entity. You know, that quote unquote asset is yours. You're not trading your time for money. So instead of working and getting paid, which is great, as my kids are doing right now, when you own a business, you're creating a machine. You know, when you're doing something else, you're at your kids' games or whatever down the road, that machine is continuing to operate and kick off revenue and hopefully profits. It's a completely different mindset. I always think about, you're building a machine. This is not a static thing that you work on it and when you leave, it stops. No, it's going to continue. And it's a totally different way of thinking. You're going to gain ultimate freedom. You can travel, work when you want, do what you want, where you want, when you want. You can actually impact many more people. You know, I know a lot of people want to obviously have a social impact right now. It's really it's actually an awesome thing that younger people are thinking this way. So they're starting businesses, but they're also doing it with the social impact in mind. When you own a business, you can make all the decisions. You can hire people, you can help out families, you can donate to charities you want to. You actually have exponentially more opportunity to make that impact that you want to make. So I think that's often not thought about, and you can control your future. And yeah, go ahead.
So Luke, I don't know if this is taught at university, and so I haven't been in university for a while, but where I know that some of the people that are listening can link into your LinkedIn page, or with whatever you give them as a contact at the end of this presentation. Maybe you can offer some ideas of where they can get that information online.
For sure. Absolutely.
Because sometimes people, it's hard for them to kind of put their head in this arena. You know what I mean?
Completely. And that's a great question. So yeah, definitely find me on LinkedIn. Just Luke Peters, LukePeters. And there might be 1 or 2 others, but you'll find me if you search that on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to run through the rest pretty quick in case there's some questions here. But quickly, why is it less risky? Okay, people think entrepreneurship's more risky. Honestly, it's less risky. It's more risky for the 1 year. So if you're just thinking about the present, but let's think about the future, what you're going to be doing the rest of your life. You control your results. Every year you're going to get better. You're inherently going to have more motivation. You can do so much more as a business owner. And if you're profitable, you're now building your personal assets and wealth, so you don't need to continue working later on. When you're employed, anything can happen. The company can go under, you can be let go, employers can relocate. So again, there's a lot more time I can spend on this, but you're actually in control when you start your own business. And if it's successful, it's going to be quite a bit less risky. We talked about making a social impact. So I think we can kind of go through this quickly. I will tell you, like I just hired somebody, and he's a minority, and with everything going on, I asked him, well, what do you want to do in 3 or 5 years? And he said, he wants to work at a larger public company and make a bigger social impact at a company like that. That's what he was working up towards. And he is a really, really talented individual. And, it wasn't my time and place to kind of say, wait a minute, why don't you just start a business? I probably will later on after I've worked with him for a little bit. But think about it, he has a great vision of what he wants to do. He's super talented. He could probably start his own company if he wanted to down the road. And so this is just an option that everybody should understand. Yeah, you can go do it. You can do this and work in a certain arm of a business, but you can also do it yourself. This can be a little, controversial, but it's an important slide. Everybody, we're all going to turn 50. And if you look at what our the typical earnings are at that age, they can start to decline. Okay, now this doesn't happen for everybody. And we're not here to debate, good or bad. It's just, these are the numbers. When you own that business, and this is definitely talking to the younger folks, you're in control. You've already put away assets at this point. You're hopefully going to continue up and to the right. And again, these things are not, people are thinking too short term. And so I like to think long term. You can look at all the different classifications on this slide. It kind of covers a lot of information, men and women with different educational backgrounds. So, obviously starting a business is very hard. There's no doubt about it. You have to be 100% all in, but there's plenty of people listening who probably may have played athletics or played a musical instrument, and they probably dedicated hours of their days to that. It can be done. If you're a C student who's restless, maybe has ADD, maybe annoys other people sometimes and has too many crazy ideas, you're probably perfect to go start a business. Like, this can be for many, many people. And I have a couple of Helen Keller quotes in here. I mean, I just think this is a great one. You guys can read that yourself, but I think I have one on the next slide as well, but she had some really great insights, and obviously she had a lot of challenges. So everybody's going to have challenges. Know who you are. And this slide kind of goes into that. And I think, Lucia, you guys will be hosting this so people can dig into it later on.
You got to play to your strengths.
You got to play to your strengths. There's not one way to be an entrepreneur. There's so many different ways. If you're an engineer right now, you can own your own engineering firm. You can go get your PE and eventually go buy or start your own firm. There's so many different ways to do it that I want everybody to kind of have an open mind towards that. Okay, so where do you start? Surround yourself with like-minded people. This is the most important one. You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Who are your friends and peers? Are they positive? Are they going somewhere? Are they encouraging you? Sometimes you might have to make some tough choices there. Work for other successful business owners. We talked about that. The third one is just kind of funny. Stop watching Netflix. But what I mean here is, like, spend time on something. Like, it's not going to happen for you. You're going to have to invest time into it. Number 4, write out some ideas. Number 5, start with an MVP, minimum viable product. And Lucia, what I mean here is, most people they get into analysis paralysis. They want to perfect it. No. Just come up with that minimum viable product, whether it's a service, a course, a product, whatever it might be, the minimum that it takes to go to market and start selling. See if somebody will buy it or not. And you'll know if you have a good idea, if they say yes, and if they say no, you have to edit and go work on it. But don't spend too much time thinking behind the scenes. That's definitely a way to kill an idea. And then, just finishing it up here, it's really important to believe in yourself. I'm going to tell you guys, when I got out of high school, I didn't have a ton of confidence. I had no idea what I was going to do. I was so happy that I just graduated school, and don't worry if you're, 20 years old or 24 or 25 and you don't have a clear idea or a ton of confidence. It's going to come over time as you work on that job. You're not going to have everything going for you. Some of these things you're going to have some hurdles, and that's why it's great to be around people who are like-minded. But I like this Helen Keller quote even better. Life's either a daring adventure or nothing at all. And I would just encourage everybody listening to be open-minded, be more curious, take a little more chances in your life, and you're going to have a lot more fun.
So were you a risk taker when you were a kid?
Yeah, I was, but it was more just that, look, I came with a big family and we were always working and if we wanted something, we had to go get it. So I was out on my own, if I wanted something, I had to go do it. And, but I think I see especially this generation, Lucia, I see people who are they want to do good, which is great. They're really smart. They're actually really hard workers. They kind of get a bad rap for that, but they're also very careful, almost too careful, I think, just think about how parenting has changed and all of those types of things. Right. And I would just encourage people to take more chances.
That's great. Well, now I know that there's some questions here I want to ask you, and there's a couple I'll leave to the end because I think they're asking for advice on equipment. They can actually, I'll ask them, but they really can actually follow up with you online on those.
Sure.
So what advice do you have for someone who has multiple business interests and has a hard time focusing on growing any one business, but is not sure which one to pursue?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. It's a great question. It happens. I mean, that's actually a good problem to have. Okay, that person's probably entrepreneurial. I think everybody's got to find their own system on how to be disciplined. Okay, so work on a time management system. I work on just something very similar called MIT, or simple MIT, most important things. I think you can probably get some guidance on which of your ideas maybe has the best future. So there's probably a mixed bag of, number one, become a little bit more disciplined. So focus not on a to-do list, because not checking off small things, instead on more strategic, bigger things. Okay, that's number one. And number two, get some guidance from other people on your ideas, so you can kind of get some outside feedback and try to zero in on the one that maybe has the biggest opportunity.
Right. What is the difference between a business owner and an entrepreneur?
Well, there's a lot of differences. A lot of times entrepreneurs later on will hire people from larger companies because they're going to bring more discipline into it. An entrepreneur, first of all, like I said, in a couple of years, it's going to be like a bad word. It's like overused quite a bit. But generally, it's somebody who starts something from nothing. Okay. And oftentimes, remember, people will come in and buy businesses later on. So you'll have people who are good at running businesses, but not good at starting businesses. Going from $0 to that first dollar is the hardest thing. Turning that dollar, your $100,000 into $1 million takes another skill. Turning the million into 10 million takes another skill. So entrepreneurs sometimes have to learn all of those skills. That's why getting this education in finance is great, or some of these subjects are really going to come in helpful. But there's definitely different types and tiers along the way.
So how did you get that finance background? Did you do it online? Did you hit miss?
Yeah, hit or miss, honestly, and obviously I was good with numbers just because, I studied science, but not good with finance. My oldest daughter actually got a double major in finance and marketing. I thought it was a great major because really knowing a P&L it's so important. And, I probably took way too long to learn that, but I read a lot of books and in business, finance is different than what you learn in school. When you're running a business, it's totally different. Not totally, but there's just a different way you approach it. But you can get it by studying on your own.
How do you recommend getting funding to start a business? Should you start with a loan?
You can. The thing is, most of the time, people can get to their minimum viable product without very much money. So when I said being an entrepreneur is less risky, It's because in today's day and age, you don't need a lot of money. And if your idea is great, you can find angel networks. So there's angel investors in every county. Over in Orange County, there's like the test.
Is that what they're called? I mean, you look them up that way?
Yeah, they're called angel investors. Okay. So that's before your venture capital. These are smaller. Usually they're going to be people have started a business successfully. They've got extra capital. They want to invest it in the next generation of entrepreneurs. Okay. And you call it like seed money. So these are smaller investments, but with that is going to come mentorship. And if your idea gets turned down, it tells you something about your idea. But along the way, you're going to get mentorship. And again, you're not going to be losing money, taking out a loan, having to go in personal debt at this time. Of course, down the road, people can do friends and family rounds and all of that. If someone's thinking that way, the first thing they should do, find other entrepreneurs and hang out with them. They're going to learn so much.
So what exactly is your business? I think if they went on your LinkedIn page, you get a little more info, but do you build the products or do you sell them?
Yeah.
Do you serve as a distributor? What? I think they want a little more detail.
Sure. So these are our products. We work with probably 20 factories in China and a couple other countries. And so we're working with them to build and design these products. We're bringing them over here. We've created a brand. So Newair is a leading brand in our industry. So we have to run every department from marketing to finance to sales, operations, warehousing. So we're bringing the product in. We're then working with our customers and making sure that Home Depot has, that we're able to present to them products that are going to win. And obviously we have competitors and then so we're selling our products through these retailers, and we're also selling them ourselves on our own website.
How do you start building your clientele and the retail relationships?
Listen, it's hard, and that's but it's like anything. So right now is literally the easiest time. The last 10 years have been the easiest time in history because of the internet. So you can go out and create a website, and you can create interest. So I think a lot of that has to do with people understanding who's your customer and how do they buy. So if your customer's online, then you have to learn these online skills of content marketing and direct to consumer sales and SEO and how to sell on Amazon. Like there's a whole skill set. If your customer is, I'm just making this up, higher education, then you got to learn how that sales process goes and who the right people are. So it starts with who your customer is.
So you just mentioned how to choose what to specialize in, but have you ever had any like bad decisions that you had to back out of?
Oh, so many. That's why I'm saying so many.
Well, that's good to know for those.
Oh my gosh, so many failures. Everybody, for sure. You're going to have those. You just have to keep pushing. What everybody should really realize is most people don't want to put the work in. Okay. If you're willing to put the work in, I'm confident that the majority of people, if they do it right, will be successsul. And you know what? If you're not successful, especially if you're young, you just do it again, and then you just do it again. Like we're all going to live a long time, hopefully. So this is not a one and done. You're not risking your life. You don't want to put yourself in that position. You can do it in ways where you're not risking your savings. There's definitely safe ways to do it.
And what do you see, where do you see yourself in the next 5, 10, 15 years?
Continuing to do what I'm doing because I'm really enjoying it. Hopefully even seeing my kids do it. My oldest one's starting a business right now and she's only 22. So there's that's going to be fun. I've got a young one coaching his sports teams when COVID's gone, and hopefully even starting other ventures. It's a lot of fun. Once you're involved in it, you kind of, you develop a bunch of friends in industry. And when you're around people like that, they think, the sky's the limit. And so you see opportunity instead of challenge.
Now, Luke, that was a great segue because it is about how you build on your dream. And also you mentioned you like what you do. That is a biggie.
Yeah.
So can you give them a little more info on how to make sure they're following that? I mean, because you can be working hard and not like what you're doing.
Well, yeah. So there's, sometimes people are there. Like I said, there's going to be many different types of entrepreneurs. Okay. I don't want to pigeonhole it. You don't have to have great ideas. Some people will be frustrated at their work because they're really good and they feel like they're not being maybe compensated for what they should be doing. That could be a great reason to start a business. Or people are just naturally, they lose interest quickly. And that could be another reason because they want to be working on their own thing. But if you have a passion, passions are a great place to start your business. Some passions are not good industries to be in though as well. So you got to just weigh it and be smart about it. Like for example, like I surf, and it's a joke. It's kind of a common joke that the action sports industry is like the worst, I don't want to say the worst, but it's a very difficult one to own a business in. And everybody jokes around because all of your friends are going to be trying to bum free surfboards and it's a different thing. But, I also like photography, and I probably could have started a business in that area of like, I love, shooting, and I love all the equipment. So categories that are passionate, where there's passion involved, become great businesses because oftentimes your customers are passionate too. And your customers are going to help you create content, which if you know how to do that correctly, can create a good ecosystem where you can generate more eyeballs to your website. So start with the passion, but it doesn't have to be down that road.
So we got about 3 minutes left. There's a couple of questions I'll connect together here. Were the products you made a hobby of yours, something that you had an interest in? And also, how long do you give a product to take off? How do you know when it's time to give up on it?
Well, those are all great. Those are great. So I'll answer those quick. So no, I knew nothing about this subject. I literally, I was working as a hazardous waste scientist, and it was a boring job, unfortunately. And I wanted to sell something online because my little brother was selling computer parts online. I looked onto Yahoo, and they ranked the top 100 searches, and number 3 was portable air conditioner. It was the middle of summer. I knew nothing about portable air conditioners, but I said, people want them, so let me be the one that sells them. And from there, I just started making phone calls. I didn't know anything about the industry, business, product, anything. So it can be figured out. Like I said, I'm just a C student. So anybody can figure it out. And then how long do you let a product take off? It just depends. It could take from a couple months to over a year. And it totally depends on the kind of product. I would say to that person who asked the question, if you're launching a product, make sure you're creating content on the internet. Other people are creating content about your product, not just you. So whether you're using social media, YouTube or whatever, or written blogs and content, the more you do that, that again is like a machine. And over time, as there's more content out there, people are going to find your product more readily, and that can help with the product launch.
Okay. So I'll go back to those first 2 questions, and it was really about products. So if they have some questions on where the best place to get some of these products, if you're in that market, or an HVAC system, I think, and the other one was a refrigeration system. So they can go to your either LinkedIn or the email that we'll provide for them.
Yeah, we don't sell commercial products, so that would probably be a different category.
Good answer.
Yeah. So that's not in our wheelhouse.
Okay. Well, we've got 1 minute. I'd love for you to just kind of give them a quick final words.
Sure. Okay. My final word is invest in yourself. For young and old, anybody listening, you have your own best interests. Everybody, I'm sure, has great friends and everything, but at the end of the day, you're responsible and accountable for the things that you're going to do with your life. And your friends are going to be responsible for their own lives. And it's like, we have to think about ourselves, not in a selfish way, but like you're the only one that's going to put that time in. So I would encourage everybody to invest in yourself. Think you're getting your school education, but think outside of that. Read books. I listed a couple authors today. Find things that are going to make you always be a continual lifelong learner. And if you invest your time towards that, whether you start a business or not, I think you're going to have a more prosperous life.
Right. Well, I'm going to turn it over to Noemi. to close it off. Thanks so much, Luke. I enjoyed the discussion.
Thanks, that was fun.
Noemi?
Luke. Great way of ending it, to really invest in yourselves and follow your dreams. That's a great advice. Thank you, Lucia, for moderating another edition of our 49er chats. Thank you everyone for attending. And again, this session was recorded and it will live on our website at csuob.edu/alumni. And if you want to learn about our future chats, please follow us on social media at CSUOB Alumni. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
And then Luke, if you could just give us 1 second, we're just going to